Hi, I'm John Storms, and I'm going to go over today how we control these glow-with-the-show Mickey Mouse ears.
So find the Audacity icon. So what we do here is we load up an MP3 file, and the goal is to generate a label file. We take that label file and we have the time in seconds, and then we have a second column that's ignored, and then we add the various command effects that we want to send to the glow-with-the-show hats. That label file is loaded up by the Light-O-Rama software, so when you kick off a sequence, you have a Windows command which is found under File, Edit, which is under the menu bar under Edit, a Windows command that calls the IR player along with the name of the input file, which we are going to correlate the name to the name of the sequence file. That gets loaded into the IR player, which is also running off the computer, and what it does is it opens up a TCP/IP connection over an Ethernet switch to a global cache iTech IP2IR. This is basically an IR controller. So the commands, we take the commands that are coming out of that label file, we convert them into pulses, or the IR player script converts them into pulses, and then transmit it to the iTech. And there on port 3 we have an IR blaster cable which blasts that signal at 38 kilohertz to the Disney glow-with-the-show hats, and then they respond to it. So that's the gist of it. Now I want to go over all the software aspect. So the first thing you want to do is, I have Audacity up here and I've pulled in the song of the sequence, the song that I'm going to do with the sequence and with the glow-with-the-show. So all you do is you just hit play, and then every time you want a timing mark you just do a Control M. Typically you don't want it overly, you don't want to overdo it. So every once in a while, so you get the idea.
The world is a carousel of color. A blue rolling sea, a red summer rose, a sunset in the sky, beauty untold is ours to be.
And you get the idea. So as the music plays, you add these timing marks, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say export labels, and for today, whoops, almost forgot. First I need to rename the label check. Call it man for manual. Then edit. Then you want to export the label, so I go to File, Export Labels. And I want to put this in a different directory, man.txt. Okay, so now if I go to that directory and I open up man.txt, what I have is two columns of numbers. Okay, now for glow-with-the-show, it's going to use exactly that. All you have to do is add another column. So the way you add a column is you press tab and then you're at the next column. So what do you put in this column? Well, you just put in whatever effects you want. And so here I have a list of all the effects, and they're in the script as well. So basically here I could say white, here I could say blue, and this one I can say R red, which means turn the right ear red. So you can turn on both the ears to a color, or you can turn the right ear onto a color. So what if you said, well, I want it to come up yellow and then the right ear red? Well, what you do is you say yellow, turn both of them on, space, and R red, and it will happen so quickly people won't notice. We also have extended colors like sea green and powder blue, and these are just the timing marks that we just added. We can also do interesting things like have the ears pulse together, red, normal, pulse. That means It's going to be red, and it's going to pulse on and off at a normal speed. And then I can do it fast, slow, flashing, and then another one where they alternate pulsing one from the one ear to the next, a strobe, and then a strobe effect. I have all these effects. So instead of going through all of them here, let me open up the one that I already have saved, which is this one, and you give it an extension of, the way you want to name it is you want to name this part of the file, the base file name, exactly the same as the base file name of your sequence. So if my sequence is called test world of color.lms, then my glow with the show file, this Audacity label file, is going to be test underscore world of color.gwts. Okay, and I'll show you why we do that in a little bit. So if I open this up, this is a fancy notepad. First of all, anything that starts with a pound sign, this hash sign, the player is going to ignore it. So you can stick some comments in here for yourself. So you can say, you know, this is this part of the song, this is that part of the song, and it's going to read this information. And see here, I have white strobe, I have white, I got the different effects. Here it goes red, green, red, yellow, green, so it's actually going to alternate through these. So we got all these different things. Now in cases where I don't have anything and I leave it blank, it's just going to continue doing what it did before. Well, that's a mistake. It's not going to know what to do with blue. And if it doesn't find it, it's also not going to do anything. And it's not case sensitive, but it is spelling sensitive. And of course at the very end I have off. Okay. The other thing I did is right here at the very beginning I added 0, 0 off. The Audacity doesn't give you a timing mark for 0, so I just added it there. Okay, so this is the timing grid and essentially the sequencing. So I'll close that out. Now notice I have it called test world of color. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my sequence editor. And in my sequence editor, I have test world underscore world of color.lms open. Okay, that base file name is the same. Now you go to edit, and I've already sequenced the rest of the song, but I don't have anything hooked up right now. So if you go to edit, Windows command, this allows you to kick off a Windows command. So I'm going to call the Perl interpreter, and you have to have Perl installed. I created another video that shows where to go to download it, Perl. I require 2 different packages to be installed. One is a socket package, so we can open up a socket to the IR controller, and then also a timing package, so we can do more fine granular timings. And I have both of those specified in the notes, and as well, if you go to that video, I also list them there as well. So here I say Perl because that's the name of the program we're going to run, and I pass it the name of our script, which is in the C:bin directory. It's called IR player, and then we're going to give IR player an argument, and we're going to pass it a file name. This is the file that it's going to play. So I pass it C:bin / and what this fancy thing here does, %, sequence file name, no extension, is it's going to take our file name without the extension and replace it here. Okay, and then the script picks it up, puts .gwts on the end, and off it goes. Now window style, this just says what happens to the window while it's playing. So I'm going to have it on normal focus, but I could have it hidden so it doesn't show up. Focus means that it is the active window. Okay, so I can say focus or no focus, minimize, maximize, and so on. Okay, so I'm going to have it as normal so we can see what it's doing. And then you click OK. And that's it. So I have the player in that bin directory, I have my glow with the show file in that directory, and you can put it anywhere you want. You just have to tell it which directories it's in. So now when I hit play, what's going to happen is it pulls up this window, it opens up the socket, says which file it is, and then here it shows me the time that it's waiting on and the next command. And it will just cycle through these one by one in a player, and then when it's done, it shuts down. Okay? So that That is it from a software perspective. Now, I didn't show you the script, but you don't really need to know anything about the script. The script is just a Perl script, and like I said, we have the video that describes how to download a Perl interpreter, so this will run automatically when you play it. If you do open this up, what you're going to see at the beginning is a whole bunch of comments, and this is going to tell you everything you need to know about the script, right? It's going to tell you some information about me. It's going to talk about the iTech IP2IR IR controller, how the command line is used. It gives you the format of the input file, how we're expecting that to come in, the use case scenario, how to set up Light-O-Rama, and then we also have a summary of all the effects. And then here I also have the actual binary commands that get translated into pulses that actually get sent to the Mickey Mouse ears. Okay, and then down here, you know, we have these are the two packages that we require in order to run, and those have to be installed. But again, that installation video that I have includes all of that. Here's how we figure out what the name of the sequence file is. We figure out where the host is. You can specify a second parameter for the IP address, or you can just simply come in here and change it right there. And then here we open up our socket. This is our communication socket to the iTech IR controller. And then here we call the player and say, okay, play the glow with the show, that socket that we just opened, and that file. And then when you're done, close it out. This subroutine here goes through the process of actually doing the playing. So it opens up the sequence file, goes line by line, skips anything with a hashtag, and then what we do is we figure out the time, and then the second column we actually don't use, and then the list of commands. And so we figure out when we need to get to the time, and if it's a little off, I got a fudge factor in here if necessary, so you can actually go in and monkey with that if you're finding that you're having some latency. And it basically goes through there, and every time it has a command, it looks it up in a hash table, sends the command out, and off we go. So what's really nice about these IR controllers is they have their own API, and I was able to write Perl script around it. So this is a stripped down version of my library, just so it's just the stuff that you need in order to run the player. But again, you don't need to know anything about here. The only thing I would do here is come in here and pull up the list of notes if you're confused, and you can also use it to manually set your IP address of your iTech device, which is probably easier than passing it in as a command line argument. Okay, so that is it in terms of software.
So what we have here, these are Mickey Mouse ears that they sell in the various Disney parks, Disneyland, Disney World. You buy these ears for $25, and then you go to one of their light shows, and suddenly they come to life and they flash on and off with the light shows. And of course, I thought this was just amazing, and I want to make a part of my light show because my neighbors will come over with their camp chairs and they'll park out front and we'll do the show, and I figure we could wear the ears and have a good time. So right now the ears are kind of doing their thing when they first get turned on, is they go into a kind of a demo mode, and if you let them run long enough they'll actually start to sync up with each other. But that doesn't matter, because what we want to do is we want to hook them up to Light-O-Rama. So I got my PC running Light-O-Rama S4, and it's on 192.168.1.200. I have an Ethernet cable going to an Ethernet switch. Nothing else is plugged into it except for this guy here on 192.168.1.201, and this is an iTech IP2IR. And so here Ethernet's coming in. You can see the light is flashing wildly. I have a power jack. I believe it's 12 volts, doesn't matter, comes with it. And then I have 3 IR emitter jacks. The first 2 are for what you would essentially have short range. The intended use is you would put this with bracket mounted equipment like VCRs and DVDs, and then these would have IRs that would just go directly to those devices. This last one is special. It is an IR blaster. So if we follow the little wire, we come up here, and this is the little IR blaster. I'll put my finger there just so you can see. This is a tiny little guy, and I have him on my leg lamp, and I have it pointed in the direction of the ears. See that? So that it has, and the range varies. I get a good range at about 20 feet, and then it starts dropping off. So one of the things to play with is to see if you can't get a little bit more range, but just in case, I have 2 of the IR transmitters or controllers. Okay, so I have them all set up, and that's it for the setup. It's a very straightforward setup. So what happens is Light-O-Rama kicks off a script. The script has an input file that basically is a modified Audacity label file, which contains all the sequencing information for these guys. I wrote a script that decodes it, converts it into pulses, sends it to this guy. He then sends it out here, and off it goes. It's that easy. So let's do a quick little demo, see if they're all still working, see if they're all still happy. Turn off the lights. Hope my battery lasts. And when I hit play, you'll see that window kicks up. And then there goes my lights. So there it said, you know, white strobe, and then white, yellow, blue, and then this is my pulse. If you see one get out of sync, that's just because he didn't pick up the command. That's a line of sight issue. That's blue strobe. This is normal alt pulse for blue. And for each one of those I did a quick yellow-red pulse. Let's turn it off. Now it's dazzling us. This should be blue and green. So people ask, you know, could we do these via DMX? Probably. But the way these are programmed is quite a bit different than regular channels. Here's that Disney did things in layers. You have an effect layered with a color, layered with a speed, and it would take quite a bit of doing. See? That's it. That's our demo. Yay, it worked.